Narayan Murthy got bashed for this 70-hour comment, right? All the founders I've spoken to.
First of all, I don't believe in work-life balance.
What's your view?
So my view is with him.
क्या SaaS businesses इंडिया में नहीं चल पाते?
मेरा simple thesis है, if you're selling SaaS to India of anything, it's not gonna work out. Not to do में ये है, SaaS go to market में please don't run ads. Google ads don't work, LinkedIn ads तो absolutely doesn't work.
पहला customer कैसे लाए? What's the strategy on GTM, sales? How to do that?
So there are 3-4 channels to acquire customers in SaaS. First is events.
One SaaS business idea in 2024.
My advice to any early stage SaaS founder would be pick any one small problem within an organization and try to solve it in a slightly better way. That's your way to get off the ground.
What is the background?
My educational background before that was in US where I studied AI and machine learning. So I formally own that degree. This is what 15 years ago.
ये है मैंने देखा है कि your CMU degree would have helped कि सीधे VCs ने ठक करके चेक लिख दिया. तो you're a Gujarati.
This is very shallow to say, but in Gujju family people say कि यार धंधा blood में होता है. But I think it's not the blood, it's the environment that they create. Because like I remember.
Guys, welcome to another electrifying episode of the Akash Gupta Show, powered by 100 Unicorns, our new sponsor. India ke one of the top accelerators focusing on early stage startups. Backed by Venture Catalyst, a global startup accelerator. अब सभी startups के लिए एक बहुत ही काम की बात. ये अपने fund 1 से अभी तक 145 startups में $100 million का इन्वेस्टमेंट कर चुके हैं. In industries like fintech, edtech, Web3 and deep tech. Some of their portfolio firms are Videoverse, Zingbus, Snapmint, TrueNative, BlueSmart, and even आपका अपना Zip Electric. And now they are on to their second fund where they are looking to invest $200 million in 200 startups this time in sectors like D2C, Agritech, SaaS, and Fintech. So if you are a startup and you're looking for funding, then you know who to reach out to.
So guys, today is a very interesting podcast क्योंकि पहली बार हम एक SaaS founder के साथ बैठे हैं. SaaS means software as a service जो कि बहुत बड़ी इंडस्ट्री है. Zoho, Freshworks और आज है LogiNext. तो LogiNext के फाउंडर जो कि बहुत अच्छे फ्रेंड है Dhruv Sanghvi will kind of unblock all things that you can think of on how to build a SaaS business. So dive right in. This will be a powerhouse podcast because SaaS में ना 20x multiple, 50x multiple मिलता है on valuation और 80% ग्रोस मार्जिन होता है. नहीं पता ये सब तो जरा पॉडकास्ट पे चले जाओ. ग्रेट यार, गुड टू सी यू ध्रुविल. बहुत एक दिन हम मिले थे. वी enjoyed a lot that evening, but that day I realized that you're spending most of your time in the US, and then I've been catching up with you कि कब आ रहे हो, and finally we are sitting. So thank you so much. Welcome to the Akash Gupta Show, right? Powered by 100 Unicorns, some of our sponsors. But it's good to learn from you today your journey. तो पहले तो I would love to understand your segue into entrepreneurship. How did this come about? What was your why? Why did you get into this? And then we'll cover LogiNext and many other things. Yeah.
So I think first of all, thanks for having me because I've always watched this thing and I was just so impressed by the content that you create. And I think it's just so spontaneous. That's the part I liked so much about it because I came across multiple of your reels on my Insta feed, and I was like, of course, we knew each other. I was like, boss, you're doing a great job. And when I entered this office floor, it was such a great vibe, right? I think the way you invite and kind of celebrate your guests is very impressive. I should say so. Thank you for that.
We're all achievers, man, founders.
So, but I think but that's very, very kind of you to say that. So thank you for that. I think from my journey perspective, it's very simple. I used to be a very boring supply chain B2B guy, right? So my first job was into consulting, and my domain that was assigned to me back in 2010 was e-commerce, supply chain, transportation, warehousing, just like any other consultant in a large company. My educational background before that was in US where I studied AI and machine learning. My program was at that time and even till date is called Masters in AI.
Really?
So I formally own that degree. This is 15 years ago.
क्या बात कर रहे हो तब?
And the only reference point I had was my sister had done it, which is when the program had launched ever. And I thought, यार कुछ तो मतलब कर ही लेंगे, अच्छा ही है. And then my sister was always a role model I used to look up to. She was 6 years elder to me. She got into McKinsey, so I was like, यार this is my life. कुछ अच्छा ये सब पढ़ाई करेंगे, AI वगैरह करेंगे, McKinsey में जाएंगे, and then we'll advise customers. But at that time I realized in 2011-12 when I graduated, is when there was this whole new era of e-commerce and startups coming in, right? While for me, the learning of AI was very research oriented in terms of, how do you like really put algorithms at work? How do you build algorithms from the scratch? What are the constraints you have to put? How do you train a model? How do you train different kinds of model? In today's world, people are talking about this large language model, but that's just one kind of model. There are hundreds of kinds of models in the world of AI and evolving. So I think that's why I'm a big fan of AI for that purpose, not just because
You are an AI specialist, यार. मतलब AI की डिग्री 15 साल पहले तुमने ली थी. So you learned Python and all also?
everything. So I was a developer, and then you get the beauty about CMU's program was that you get a small research lab for yourself. So you get some computation power from the lab. Let's say, I remember I used to, like at 11 p.m. you can put a training model to start. It would take about 6 months to train because of the limited resources that you have. But for 6 hours, you as a student get exclusive access to that resources, right? That was the big thing. And then I would kind of just like put that onto play, and then I would just go out for a drink and finish it because I was just excited कि इसका क्या output निकलेगा. But you have to kind of let that model run so that you can then test it out and deploy it and so on and so forth. I used to have, like CMU used to have projects where companies like Credit Suisse, which is the largest Swiss bank in the world, right? They would come and they would kind of give their limited data set to train our research models on to see what can come out of it.
Wow. But Carnegie Mellon, first of all, let's talk about that. Getting there is also not easy. You went there. What was the background? How all of that happened? And then choosing an AI course and then coming to entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So I think, like from slightly even before that, right? I think in childhood as well, right? I was always more of a techie, but had come from a Gujju, Dhanda family, right? So my father owns, and my father's family business is kind of about a 250 crore top line business built over 35-40 years. Textile mein hai, Ahmedabad se chala rahe hai. Customer base in Middle East and India.
So you're a Gujarati
from Ahmedabad. So that's something I've always kind of heard कि यार end में मतलब this is very shallow to say, but in Gujju family people say कि यार blood में है, right? मतलब धंधा blood में होता है. But I think it's not the blood, it's the environment that they create. Because like I remember the first, when I got the first time I got my dad bought a phone. It was a Panasonic का वो फोन आता था एंटेना वाला. तब उन्होंने मुझे बताया कि बेटा एक SMS टाइप करना है, कर दे. एंड आई वाज ऑलवेज एक्साइटेड, आई वाज 10-year-old kid. आई वाज लाइक यस चलो, पापा का फोन यूज़ करने मिलेगा, SMS करने को भेजने को मिलेगा. एंड द फर्स्ट SMS आई सेंट एट दैट टाइम, व्हिच आई कुड नेवर थिंक ऑफ इट दैट वे, बट इट अकर्ड टू मी व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड LogiNext was that your payment of 3 crore is pending for 90 days, please clear ASAP, right? So account receivable is what you learn in like subconsciously, right? At that time. Then my birthday chacha used to tell me when I wanted to take science stream in 11th standard, he was like, science लेके क्या करेगा यार, फिर तू engineer बनेगा, फिर जॉब करेगा, फिर कुछ सैलरी कमाएगा, and it will become about money. तू एक काम करता है, तू अभी धंधे पे आ जा, तेरे को वो पैसा हम लोग अभी दे देंगे, तो तू करेगा धंधा. And I used to be like, यार ये तो ऐसा तो सोचा ही नहीं कभी, because the whole thinking was कि सब फ्रेंड्स भी साइंस ले रहे हैं, आप कुछ अच्छा बनाएंगे, पढ़ाई करेंगे, जॉब करेंगे, that's it. So I had that kind of an upbringing which always had this subconscious push in the mind, where ultimately you have to have a business to create wealth for yourself, for people around you, be it your family, be it your team members, be it your shareholders, be it your brothers that you do business with, whatever that might be. So वो एक एंगल था. And then I think how CMU happened is that I did my undergrad from Nirma University in Ahmedabad, right, which is good in Gujarat, but not the best in India as such. So वो था. And then I think the tech piece kind of kicked in when I came across coursework at Nirma University in Ahmedabad, like theory of computation, fundamentals of AI. And I was very impressed because we generally engineers care about engineering in India, right? Like हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं second year, अरे यार ये क्या है, ये नहीं पढ़ना है, MBA करेंगे या फिर छोड़ दो इतना. And then there are some like nerds in your class, like 3 or 4, who are like really killing it, right? I was not the nerd, and I was also not on the cribbing side. I was just fascinated कि यार ये इसमें कुछ तो है. But I want to go deep into it. And then at that time I saw my sister pursuing the same master's degree in Carnegie Mellon. And I kind of saw her books and the way she's taught. So I was kind of impressed by the way the coursework was taught. Probably the content, even in Nirma, to be honest, for AI computation was very similar to what a CMU textbook would look like. but it was very, very practical. Like one of the things that I said, right? Like you get a research lab resources, right? Like where you get your computation power, you get your computer, you get like you walk into the campus and there's they used to call it Octa Robo or something, I forgot the name, but it's basically a robot with highest number of legs in the world. This is 2010. So you go into the campus and this robo, he just keeps on moving across the campus. Yeah, वो ऐसे ही घूम रहा है.
उस समय
It's what 2010 का है. And there was a thing in CMU campus कि ये मतलब every new student comes and gets fascinated कि यार मतलब कहाँ आ गया, मजा आ गया, right? So it's so inspiring. I used to hear these stories from my sister. Sure. So I was like, boss, textually अच्छा लग रहा है. Delivery method यहाँ का ठीक नहीं है. But the CMU feels very cool. And I was like, this was my one escape point कि अभी मैं ये नहीं करूँगा, तो I have to join my family business.
हाँ तो वो क्यों नहीं किया? Family business भी अच्छा
So I don't know, like just like I don't know, many other family business kids, I always felt that managing textile manufacturing, wholesaling of it, ये B2B sales करना, it's not cool. नहीं. तो टेक में एक थोड़ा cool feel आ रही थी. तो वो कूल के हिसाब से गए, बट अल्टीमेटली रियलाइज किया अल्टीमेटली एंटरप्राइज सो फंडामेंटल्स ऑफ द बिजनेस आर द सेम, राइट? बट एट दैट टाइम आई हैड लाइक वेरी, इनफैक्ट आई यूज्ड टू I never used to value my father and his work also. यार ये पूरा दिन काम करते रहते हैं, फैमिली के लिए कभी टाइम निकाला नहीं, राइट? इज सच अ श्रूड गाय एट वर्क, राइट? कि मतलब यार ये कितना स्टीप नेगोशिएशन करते हैं, लोगों से ऐसे डील करते हैं, यार ये लाइफ मुझे नहीं चाहिए. मतलब आई विल हैव अ मोर वाइट कॉलर लाइफ, थोड़ा और बेटर करेंगे, इम्पैक्ट लाएंगे, सोसाइटी के लिए करेंगे, लोगों के लिए करेंगे, राइट? एंड यू हैव अ, not that you should not be thinking that, but you have a very theoretical view about the world.
That's true.
So I think with that I walked the path of like kind of getting into research, AI, Carnegie Mellon, US. Plus of course there was a whole wave of people going from India to US to study. I think it's still there's a
गुजरात में तो बहुत होता है.
Yeah, 1/3 of my friends, they pursued with me in different universities. People, somebody went to NYU, somebody went to Columbia, Cornell, Georgia Tech, Berkeley, USC. तो सब लोग यही रेस में लगे हुए हैं कि कौन सी यूनिवर्सिटी अच्छी है, किसको क्या मिल रहा है, कौन सा प्रोग्राम. somebody is doing masters in networking, उसको लग रहा है कि computer networks will be the next big thing. Somebody is doing generalist in computer science. Somebody is doing AI. Nice. And I was just taking a bet and had no idea whatsoever what's going to happen with AI. Even until 2 years ago, I had no idea that AI will really explode, right? So I think that was the whole thesis behind.
Superb. तो ये कैसे शुरू हुई अपनी LogiNext पे कैसे आए? Because it's a very different business again. कहाँ फादर का बिजनेस टेक्सटाइल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग और कहाँ ये SaaS रिलेटेड लॉजिस्टिक्स टेक बिजनेस, राइट? तो थोड़ा सा वो जर्नी समझाओ, कितने साल काम किया?
So 2011 में ग्रेजुएट हुआ CMU से, and at that time the whole goal was that I want to join McKinsey because my sister was in McKinsey. That was the whole goal.
Sister was a role model in some form or shape, yeah?
Very much. And McKinsey also had a lot of like research analysts they used to hire, right? So they would actually let people crunch data of their customers, right? And then they would deliver insights via a presentation or strategy or whatever that might be. So I thought कि ये कुछ cool करेंगे. Couldn't crack McKinsey interview. So I got into Deloitte. But that's one of the best things that happened again to me because Deloitte assigned to me this e-commerce and supply chain as the vertical. Okay. And as a young professional, you just get assigned a vertical and you feel कि चलो वही कर लेंगे, मतलब ठीक है. There's nothing else to lose because you don't have anything else to contribute to, right? तो वो किया, and at that time I remember the first time I came across concepts like Uber. तब Amazon, I remember in 2011 had filed profits in public markets for the first time. So Amazon stock was a completely beaten up stock for 10 years. It was flat. So if you go back in history, 2001 से 2010 तक Amazon का stock flat है, right? So people always say कि अच्छा Amazon मैंने पहले खरीदा होता तो ये हो जाता, but all the compounding and all the value has happened after 2011. और तब तक constantly ये था कि e-commerce will not be a thing because Amazon is not able to make profits. Even after going public, it's been 10 years. So nobody, all the Sears, Walmart, Giant Eagle, Target, all the largest retailers of US were pausing their e-commerce strategy. कि थोड़ा research करते हैं और ये bubble है, bust हो जाएगा. It's very similar to what people talk about quick commerce, right? कि यार 10 मिनट डिलीवरी तो sustain नहीं करेगी. चलो अभी थोड़ा change हो गया है, but if you had asked somebody 6 months ago, people would be like, this is bullshit, not gonna happen. Not will work out, economics will not work out, ये हो जाएगा, customer कभी पैसा देगा नहीं तुमको. So Amazon was spoiling customers all that while, and there was a huge problem. There's a huge general negative outlook Amazon had.
सुन के बड़ा अच्छा लग रहा है business में.
Until they filed their first profitable quarter. That happened in 2011. Same year, Uber launched in New York City, which was the same concept. कि यार everybody was like New York में मतलब you just hail a cab and there's always a yellow cab. Like why do you need to open your app, go into it, like press a button, select your payment options? So much friction, right? Not gonna work. I remember in 2012 I hailed my first Uber cab in New York City, and I was like, yaar, matlab, why did I not think about hailing a yellow cab? But I opened the app, right? It was probably more convenient that way, because I was in some area where probably yellow cab would have taken like 2 more minutes of wait time. So मैंने app से किया. Another concept that was coming was the cloud, right? So AWS had just launched, so it was much easier, and this whole resource intensive computation was the bottleneck, because if you had to really do some path breaking tech building, right, for even companies like Walmart and whatnot, you had to really invest into capex. Like you had to put capex to really get servers capacity, तुम्हारा research lab लगाओ खुद का, और वो सब it's like too much of a work for companies to do. Cloud आ गया तो मतलब you could just like bloody spawn an instance and start running your small microservices and start experimenting with it. तो वो आ गया. So I think with that I realized that this e-commerce is there to stay. At the same time, there are newer concepts called food delivery became also very big. DoorDash became big in US. All this was coming along. I had some sort of a sense in 2011 to 2015 era that if I become a part of this wave, where a lot of skepticism is there, but I see value that this is a very irreversible user behavior, right? Then there's something to that. अभी वो something था, फिर वो business करने का एक दिमाग में सोया हुआ idea था. और third ये निकला कि यार at that time I saw that there are now Shopify's of the world are becoming big, right? Where they are ultimately what they're doing, they're enabling retailers to start selling online. Correct. Then the payment gateways started becoming famous, where they are allowing users to start paying online and allowing merchants to start accepting online. The only missing piece was that there is no software which allows delivery companies to start delivering effectively. So this was our kind of a aha moment, that what if we build a software which aggregates a lot of carriers locally for last mile to begin with, and it allows any retailer or bigger delivery company like a UPS or a FedEx to expand their delivery capacity, and specifically for same day and next day. So in 2013-14 is when Amazon Prime was becoming famous, where they were giving a 2-day delivery, unlimited 2-day delivery free for a fixed fee per month, which was also a big thing at that time, right? And now like 2-day feels too slow, but that time 2-day was a differentiator, right? So customers were not even buying from any stores which would offer a 4-day window, 3-day window, because Amazon Prime है 2 दिन में आ जाएगा, वही करता है. Exactly what we feel for quick commerce right now, कि जो 10 मिनट में आ रहा है तो मैं e-commerce में क्यों जाऊँ? आज ही मिल रहा है.
हाँ, वो 2 day was a delight at that time.
Was a delight, and then it just kept on progressively changing. So I think that was another reason. So I think all that e-commerce, payments, SaaS, cloud, AI was just kind of coming together for me with the zeal of starting a business. Also at that time I had enough savings to start something. So I had about $100,000 of savings. तो जॉब करी 2-3 साल, तो रफली 3.5 years जॉब करी, उसमें 100K का सेविंग्स हुआ. रफली उतनी सैलरी थी अबाउट 100K, टैक्स काट के आता था 70K, 40K का खर्चा निकल जाता था, और 3 साल काम करके 30K का बचा के 100K का सेविंग आया था, which was like for US very small money to do something.
Yeah.
तो मैंने जॉब,
Which is what, 80 लाख रुपए.
80 लाख रुपए. तो मैंने जॉब तो क्विट कर ली, but I realized कि I can't even hire somebody in US. I can't even pay my own bills beyond 18 months in US, right?
Because वहाँ पे salaries भी बहुत ज़्यादा होती है.
And I can't like just really have contractors, उसकी compliance करनी पड़ती है वगैरह वगैरह. At that time I moved back to India. कि यार अभी I can't sponsor my own visa, I can't pay my own bills, I can't hire people. So with 100K running a company in US was impossible just financially. But 100K was a lot of money in India at that time to get off the ground.
That's a good seed check.
It was exactly. So 12 month का रनवे था इंडिया के लिए. 3-4 लोग हायर करो, यंग डेवलपर्स ले आओ, साथ में काम करो, छोटी सी ऑफिस ले लो या घर पे बुला लो, घर पे काम कर लेंगे. With that, that feeling, 2015 में I moved back to India, Mumbai. So while I was from Ahmedabad, I have a lot of cousins in Mumbai. So I thought कि यार अहमदाबाद में डेवलपर शायद मिलेंगे नहीं, बॉम्बे नज़दीक भी है. At that time, Powai was becoming the Silicon Valley of India, और वहाँ पे housing, Tiny Owl, TaskBob, ये सब companies थी, which were all like breaking their own barriers in their own space. And now none of them are relevant because some other players have kind of built bigger businesses in their space. तो पवई वैली करके पूरा कॉन्सेप्ट बन रहा था, लाइक बॉस ये तो मतलब आई हैव टू बी अ पार्ट ऑफ इट. सो गॉट द स्मॉल ऑफिस इन पवई टू बिगिन विद, एंड एवर सिंस आई हैव बीन इन पवई.
ओह वाओ, क्या बात है यार. तो LogiNext बन गई है अब. इट्स बीन व्हाट 12 years?
10 years.
10 years.
We are gonna finish 10 years in February 2025 in 3 months now.
तो कैसी कितनी बड़ी टीम है, क्या मतलब you I realized that while you started the company in India, you have very quickly moved outside of India as your land of doing business. तो वो ट्रांजिशन क्यों किया? क्या SaaS businesses इंडिया में नहीं चल पाते? ये मेरे को ऐसा लगता है. Then other SaaS businesses work out in India because Indian customers. I don't know why.
So मेरा simple thesis है, India is not a software market for any kind of software.
India is?
India is not a software market for any kind of software. That means if you're selling SaaS to India of anything, it's not going to work out. And I'm telling this point blank in 2024 November. There has been so many different theses by a lot of different kinds of investors and very smart investors in India who are betting on India. And they think that, okay, now this is the inflection time where India will become a SaaS market also. Now you can sell to India and build in India for India. बहुत सारे concepts हैं ऐसे. But I do it as a day job. I've been doing it for 10 years now. And the fundamental constraint around price sensitivity for SaaS is significantly a big barrier to making a large company. You can create a $10 million revenue SaaS company from India. You cannot create a $100 billion revenue company from India.
Because people don't want to pay?
See, I'll tell you. So in 2015, we started selling to companies like Blue Dart, DTDC, which was our target audience.
So you started in India, selling in India.
Yeah, because India में बना रहे थे, कोई sales marketing वाला था नहीं. I was the only guy. Found some connects, कहीं से निकाला, कुछ cold calling कर ली, events में पहुंच गए, कोई speaker, कोई panel है तो वो नीचे उतर रहा है तो उसको जाके सर बोल के 10 लोगों को ऐसे ही lead कर रहे हैं. तो ऐसे करके मतलब whatever, got some leads, ran some pilots, free काम किया लोगों के लिए. 1.5 साल निकल गया, no revenue. Had funding in place because I was the smart kid on the block, and then in Indian VC world, if you're a smart kid with a smart story, good pedigree, and if you're making sense and high on integrity, people will fund you.
ये है, मैंने देखा है कि your CMU degree would have helped कि सीधे VCs ने ठक करके check लिख दिया. Who was the VC?
The first check we got was from Indian Angel Network.
Oh, there are investors also.
हाँ, अच्छा, great. हाँ, so good bunch of people, and they are the good believers when you have nothing in place, right? So that was helpful. But the moment I lost 18 to 24 months convincing these Blue Darts and DTDCs of the world to pay me, and the conversation was like कि नहीं यार 5 लाख साल का नहीं यार 4.5 लाख कर दो, 5.5 लाख 4.5 लाख कर दो. So I think even at a lower price point for a large enterprise, for the largest of the courier companies or logistics companies of India, I was fighting hard and spending days of negotiation to save them 20,000 rupees, 50,000 rupees. I'm like यार अगर उन लोग को 25K में ज़्यादा interest है and not able to look at the bigger picture of the amount of savings they will have with this investment, because they were convinced to pay 4 lakh but not 4.5 lakh. I'm like यहाँ पे कुछ तो odd है यार. This is not really an ROI thing. This is just we are just price sensitive.
एक गुज्जू को और मतलब और कितना तोड़ोगे?
and I realized यार ये कुछ तो this is not gonna work out. At that time we also had a lot of burn. So team बना ली थी, office कर ली थी, funding आ गई तो मतलब अब लोग सब कुछ कर लेंगे. At one point I had also we had acquired a company called Your Guy.
इतनी जल्दी?
हाँ, which was a 20 people company. We had hired 50 people with a seed check only. And in that process, we also got an acquisition offer from Flipkart, which we declined. Looking at that, Paytm got excited. Alibaba came in. They made a Series A investment in us.
Who?
Paytm and Alibaba.
Oh.
Paytm and Alibaba were our Series A investors. In 2016,
Paytm was investing in companies at that time.
But Alibaba had, if you remember, 2016 to 2019, Alibaba had a pretty big angle about India. So they wanted to build this whole. There's a network called Cainiao.
Yeah.
In China, which is basically the largest courier company network of its kind across the world. Think of it as UPS, FedEx both gets combined and they share their network to really fulfill every single package of the country. China is such a network built by top 5 courier companies of China. And they till date process 95% plus volumes of China. So entire e-commerce volume is just handled by this one network only. There's no room for other players. So that's a consortium kind of
in China.
So Alibaba had this thinking that there will never be a one big FedEx or UPS from India. It will have to be a consortium only in India. So we will give the tech. We will invest into LogiNext. We'll give the tech to all these offline large companies, and we'll build a network. We will not charge anything, but with that network, we will make our e-commerce fulfillment very easy and very scalable. And we will fulfill into tier 3, tier 4 towns very seamlessly. With the whole anti-China angle in 2019, that strategy failed. They ultimately exited our LogiNext as an investment.
Later on
2020 में उन लोगों ने exit ली. They still made almost like 5 times than what they had invested over 5 years. Not a great return from a VC perspective.
But they wanted to exit at that time. Whatever they got a good exit.
So we respect.
But you have Tiger also.
Tiger and Stelvio. After that they came. But again, what I was trying to say is that 2016 में we had this thinking कि यार India तो नहीं चलेगा because there's just too much of
After 24 months.
After 24 months of practically zero revenue. At that time we were like, एक काम करते हैं, let's open the online sign up page globally and let's see how many customers globally sign up. Try मारते हैं. So we randomly put a price कि यार एक price point लगाते हैं डॉलर में बड़ा वाला. We are charging 1 rupee per order in India. Let's charge 10 cents per order, which is 7 rupees, 7 times more. And it was purely experiment. एक page लगाना है, करना है. In first 30 days, we got 30 signups, including likes of UPS in the world.
Really?
And I'm like, something is wrong. Like people are signing up for the software across the world. We got leads of the largest courier company of Chile Express. UPS was a lead.
Such large logistics companies.
We got McDonald's as a lead. And some of them are today paying us more than $1 million in ARR annually for our platform. We are powering more than 100 countries for them as of today. And all these leads came by that experiment in 2016. That's when I realized that if I'm getting paid 7 times more, right, for this, like why do I really sell in India? Seriously. And the same is the case. If you look at like Oracle's enterprise pricing, Salesforce enterprise pricing, Atlassian enterprise pricing, it's all at least 3 to 4 times higher in the Western world than what we get in India.
Sure.
Zoho, which is like the largest SaaS company of India that we celebrate, and a great founder, great story from India, they have 5% revenue from India, 95% is outside. So Freshworks, right, they do about 650 million ARR, again 7% India, 93% outside. Salesforce itself, the largest SaaS company in the world, has less than 3% revenue from India. Right. So I think in a software market, India cannot be your story. It has to be a global story, and India has to be a part of it.
And a very small of that, in a way, as your stats say.
And that's why I think when you cross a certain scale, then you have an organic inbound coming from India, then you service that customer. You cannot build a GTM motion for India to begin with. India has to organically get added. फिर उसमें आपको जो भी 3-4% of your revenue it will become. That's exactly what we do right now. India is 2% of our revenue.
And learn from India by selling to Indians. क्योंकि Indian इतना नहीं छोड़ देंगे कि आप product अच्छा बना लोगे.
So आपको but वो भी अभी क्या हो गया है कि that strategy में भी मैं लोगों को ये बोलता हूँ SaaS founders को यार, if you are building SaaS from the scratch, I think people outside India will still pay you to build your software, right? So they will let you experiment with them. यहाँ पे आप एक्सपेरिमेंट करोगे फ्री में करना पड़ेगा, बाहर आप एक्सपेरिमेंट करोगे पैसा भी मिलेगा. तो लोग तो वो नहीं है कि यार इंडिया से सीख के भी बाहर जाओ. आई थिंक इन SaaS वर्ल्ड आई हैव एंड अगेन बीइंग इंडियन आई एम वेरी प्राउड ऑफ इंडिया स्टोरी, बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू सॉफ्टवेयर मार्केट, सॉफ्टवेयर कस्टमर बेस, आई हैव वेरी पेसिमिस्टिक व्यू.
वाओ. सो भाई अगर SaaS में बिजनेस बना रहे हो तो बाहर ही बनाना पड़ेगा. मतलब बनाओ इंडिया में बट बेचो बाहर. Right, that's the strategy that one should build.
And it just makes so much sense because the moment you sell outside, you have enforceable customer contracts. That means if somebody buys a 1-year license, they will honor that 1-year license. कि 6 महीने बाद उसको यार I don't want to pay anymore. No, if you bought for 1 year, you will pay for 1 year. Number one. Number two, pricing definitely, as I said, 3x to even 10x you can charge higher depending on your segment. Third is I think you also get to you get to get a much larger market size. So India, let's say, has 1,000 companies in your segment, right? World has 10,000 companies. So even if, let's say, just the sheer number of companies, if you take, it's a 10 times larger market. For software, it's easy to sell from India to the world now. And naturally, then you end up having a high gross margin, recurring revenue kind of business. So we currently do 88% gross margin.
Wow.
And our average customer pays us within 15 days of invoicing. And we service 250 customers from India. Most of them are closed from India by the India team. We currently do about $30 million of revenue. So every customer roughly pays about 250, 300K, so roughly 2 crore per year for software, which is what you have built, and it's recurring. So more average customer term of our contract is roughly 2 years. So every 2 years they renew. तो 2 साल तो कस्टमर है, तो आपने एक बार बेचा तो 2 साल कस्टमर है जो आपको 2 साल में रफली एवरेज देके जा रहा है 4 करोड़, right? And so it's like a very profitable, sustainable business model that way, very stress free.
अभी पूरा प्रॉफिटेबल हो?
We are 10% EBITDA profitable right now. Yes, our focus is to kind of get to 30% EBITDA and then kind of just stay there. I think we feel very comfortable we'll be able to kind of get there, and hopefully do a mid-size IPO.
And you're planning, you are located in India, your headquarters in India?
No, we are a US entity.
Oh, you're now a US entity. तो पहले इंडिया खोला फिर US flip किया? या क्या किया?
We did a flip, yes. So we were India headquartered in 2015 to 2019. 2019 we flipped it to US.
Oh, makes sense for your business
because most customers, they also prefer the headquarter to be outside. Like for example, let's say right now we power UPS, right, in more than 75 countries. Right. As I said, UPS global CEO is in Gurgaon right now as we speak, right, and he's meeting me. Right, so we are a critical software for him. Wow. It's a $2 million ARR account for us. Super. Right, and their general preference is that we should be, their agreement with us should be at the US level, because they have all these GDPR and CCPA laws that we have to respect. And with an Indian entity, you can't. Like even if as an India company, you sell software to UPS Global, you break any privacy laws, there is no consequence. They cannot sue you into Indian courts because Indian courts don't really give remedy for privacy law breaches as much. So they think that way कि कल उठ के चलो LogiNext है, उसका कुछ cyber security issue हो गया, मेरा customer का data चोरी हो गया, and if UPS gets sued by their customers, what is UPS's recourse? If LogiNext is not even a US entity. So that way, I think that's what I mean by enforceable contracts on both the sides.
So your contracts are mostly US also?
All are.
Because you are a US entity also?
All are US. Wow. All our customer contracts are at US level. All our customers get an insurance with us. So if we accidentally breach their privacy of their customers, we have a $2 to $5 million insurance cover for all of our customers. So they get that money if we make a mistake. So there's a whole cyber security insurance industry in US also, which is not existent in India. So a lot of these layers are there, which kind of makes it much easier or much more valuable and sensible to do business from US, from a US entity.
तो ये बड़ा interesting है. मतलब you created a company, struggled in India, SaaS, flipped the company to US, and now profitable. What a journey, I must say. तो इसमें सबसे बड़ी struggle क्या रही, right? While initially obviously हर किसी की रहती है. But what could have been 2-3 learnings that you could have done better, or other entrepreneurs can learn from your mistakes, let's say?
I think the number one mistake I've made for a long time is under-investing in people. And this is a very cliche thing, right? Especially as a young founder, you will get tons of articles where people, it's all about people, businesses are built with people, ये सब आएगा. And I'm 100% sure as a young founder, you will not really
कर ही नहीं पाओगे,
वर्क करोगे नहीं. आपको लगेगा कि नहीं वो पीपल तो मतलब है ही, मतलब लेकिन मैं कर रहा हूँ, मैं करूँगा, मैं बोलूँगा तो ये होना चाहिए. And I think more than your autonomy kind of a mindset, I think I just kind of always thought that I can get talent for lower cost, and I can expect them to do magic, right? And it worked in first 24 months because I was working with them day in, day out. And they were also young people who were just willing to slog. But that this slogging thing does not go beyond the point. At some point, people get tired, you get tired. And then when you actually hire somebody with like 10 years of experience, 12 years of experience, solid, good experience, and they are also charging you a premium for it, you realize that जो मैं चीज़ इसको बैठ के करा रहा था, वो इसको ऑलरेडी आती है. And the time that you lost by actually teaching people all of that micro things was actually much more valuable than you thought it is. Now, of course, as a bootstrap founder, it is difficult to always kind of pay those premium salaries. But I think we always fortunately, we never had a financial resource crunch. Like we were able to raise decent money for our kind of business model. So I think वो नहीं करना चाहिए था. I think I kind of struggled a lot with getting junior or low cost resources, trying to become profitable too soon, trying to work hard with them and trying to make them work hard. But I think that's like good for first 18-24 months, because it's also good because it kind of builds fundamental hardworking culture in your company. But then you have to quickly kind of evolve to match the scale and stage of your business and get people who can function at that scale and stage. That's number one. Another thing I feel is not investing more in sales and marketing. I think being engineers, you always
marketing in a SaaS.
Yeah. So we do a lot of like road shows, events, inbound, outbound calling. This is all like our lead gen is our marketing activity, and sales is another one where you kind of fill an RFP and you kind of do workshop with specific one-to-one customers and whatnot. But anyways, I think the mistake was that I think we always had 1/3 or less of our company resources being spent on sales and marketing, and 65% resources being spent on tech. I think that's such a general engineering mindset. So all the founders from technical background, they generally just kind of end up keep investing. You want to build more features.
Love the product,
and you keep perfecting it. But I think, and then when I in my almost like in the 7th or 8th year of journey, I really saw so many companies, especially in US, with very basic looking software, sometimes even buggy softwares. And I can say it publicly because I'm a customer of this software. It's called Coupa. Okay. Coupa is some $400-500 million revenue company listed on Nasdaq. Basically, they are a procurement solution. Okay. So when we have to send an invoice to UPS, we don't send it to them via email. We upload onto this Coupa portal. Okay. Because they have so many vendors. It's a vendor management, supply chain type, right? वो Coupa का आधे टाइम आप सबमिट बटन दबाओगे ना, वो क्लिक भी बराबर से नहीं होगा, उसमें बग आ जाएगा, समथिंग वेंट रॉन्ग ऐसी एरर आएगी. आई फील कि यार ये लोग ने 500 मिलियन का सॉफ्टवेयर कैसे बेच दिया है. मतलब हम लोग होते तो मैं उसको पहले वो बग को पूरा सॉल्व करके प्रोडक्ट को परफेक्ट करता, उसके बाद बेचने जाता. नॉट सिंगली यू शुड नॉट फोकस ऑन प्रोडक्ट, बट आई थिंक इफ यू हैव, आई थिंक एज अ SaaS business at least, spending at least 50% of your resources year on year, and when I say resources means headcount and money both, into sales and marketing, allows you to grow in revenues much faster, and that revenue growth solves your product issues on its own. Correct. Where you don't have to really, it just buys you more bandwidth resources to solve those problems, and you have to fix those problems, yes, for sure, but fixing all the tech problems first and then going to go to market is a wrong strategy.
Okay, so start early.
Start early, start selling. Like first 5 employees I had were all engineers.
MVP पे बेचना शुरू कर दो.
तो अभी मतलब काफ़ी अभी तो AI की वजह से like you can actually have very basic functioning MVPs also, right? To kind of at least have some customer feedback, some user feedback. Right. And even if somebody is paying small dollar, it's okay. Right. As long as they are paying for it. Makes sense. Because it builds the sales DNA in your culture. You become revenue focused. Right. Your customers are more serious because they are paying something to you. So I think in early stage I would recommend from day one, don't hire 5 engineers, hire 2 sales guys and 3.
Oh, nice. That's the. तो SaaS को थोड़ा और decrypt करते हैं, because a lot of people, I think जो मेरे चैनल पे ना बहुत लोग हम product businesses की बातें करते हैं, services business की बातें करते हैं, SaaS की बहुत बातें नहीं करते. तो अगर किसी को SaaS business, चलो एक idea बताओ पहले. One SaaS business idea in 2024 that one of the guy who's young like you, sitting in Surat or Ahmedabad can start.
I think, one of the easiest I would say is, if you look at any other business that that is functioning, every business has multiple business processes, right? Could be a finance process, HR process, procurement process, sales process, engineering process, right? There are so many. And if you see, most companies run these processes in a very offline and manual way. And there are managers who have to keep making sure this process is being followed. Right. Now, this is a problem. right? And this is a problem every company has. And this is a problem every company consistently keeps spending money on. Because they keep hiring more managers, then even more managers. As you scale, you need even more managers, right? So there's no end to it. So it's a recurring problem. It's a large enough problem where all companies have it.
True.
And it's a pain point even CXOs would want to solve because they spend a lot of their time and money to keep hiring and managing these managers. So if you can build something which solves this entire problem or some of this problem, it could be a verticalized, that means it could be one department focused, or it could be horizontal where you can actually solve it at an org level as well. And there are multiple such solutions in the market which have tried to attack this problem in different ways. But if you could even solve it slightly better, there's a market for it. Now in SaaS, you don't have to create a new category. Like in consumer tech, usually, you always think about what is just not done in the world. You have to have a new idea.
That's what everyone thinks.
Yeah, in business world, you don't have to completely create a new category. You have to go into existing category and deliver a solution which is incrementally better than your competition. And the business would like to move there. As long as it's not significantly more expensive than the current incumbent. Right? For example, in our space, supply chain software has always been there.
बहुत सारे हैं.
GPS tracking 50 साल से हो रहा था, 40 years से हो रहा था. ट्रांसपोर्टेशन मैनेजमेंट सॉफ्टवेयर बहुत है. ट्रक आपकी लिस्ट कर देंगे, ट्रक की कैपेसिटी क्या है, कितने ड्राइवर्स हैं आपके, वो सब आ जाएगा, राइट? सो इफ यू सी एज अ कॉन्सेप्ट, राइट, देयर इज अ फंडामेंटल कॉन्सेप्ट. वी फॉल इनटू द कैटेगरी ऑफ TMS, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन मैनेजमेंट सॉफ्टवेयर. But we deliver a significantly smarter TMS, right? We are more mobile oriented. We are cloud based. We are AI based. Where the same data entry is not required on its own again and again. Much easier to use, much more affordable to start with. Things like that. Much more easy to integrate with. These are all the benefits we built over the years. But to begin with, we had only a couple of benefits.
Start with one or two.
So my advice to any early stage SaaS founder would be, or if anybody is trying to build into SaaS, pick any one small problem within an organization, as long as it is a problem most companies face, and try to solve it in a slightly better way than the incumbent. That's your way to get off the ground. The beauty about SaaS is that it is profitable from day one. That means your every first license you sell has high gross margin. There's no recurring cost to it.
Pricing कैसे करें? Let's say you've told कि भाई ये HR में भी आप प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर सकते हो, फाइनेंस में भी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर सकते हो, सेल्स प्रोसेस में भी प्रॉब्लम, विच इज़ वाई सो मेनी सॉफ्टवेयर्स, राइट? HR टेक के SaaS सॉफ्टवेयर्स बहुत सारे हैं, सेल्स टेक के बहुत सारे हैं, सेल्स फोर्स टाइप के,
Tens of them, hundreds of them.
फाइनेंस में बहुत सारे हैं, टैली एंड देन सो मेनी नाउ, तो ये सब SaaS सॉफ्टवेयर्स की बातें हो रही हैं. लॉजिस्टिक्स में आपने बनाए और बहुत सारे हैं, तो बना लिया चलो किसी ने. आप कैसे प्राइस करें? तो आपने एक और चीज़ बताई कि ये इंडिया में थोड़ा टफ होगा सेल करना, so you can look at outside customers also.
And because there are two ways to do pricing in SaaS. One is value based and one is cost based. SaaS is largely done value based. That means cost based क्या होता है कि अगर मुझे ये सॉफ्टवेयर डिलीवर करने में उसको होस्ट करना पड़ेगा, लेट्स से AWS के ऊपर, उसका खर्चा आएगा लेट्स से $10 a month. And then I want to have 50% margin, so I'll sell it for $20 a month. That's called cost based. But the value this software may deliver for a business might be worth $200 a month. So then you should not price it at $20. You should price it at $200. That gives you a 95% gross margin. And that's why most SaaS businesses have more than 80-90% gross margin. So for us, the AWS bill is 3 to 4% of our revenue. So actually cost to run the software is significant.
But coders की भी तो cost लगानी पड़ेगी.
But that's not your variable cost, because once the software is built, you don't have to keep building it again and again, right? We have built software for 10 years. Now we only maintain it. We only spend 1/10 of our engineering bandwidth in building new software, because majority of the workflows are built. And now whenever a customer wants a new feature, we ask them to pay for it. So they pay for a weekly, let's say, if somebody wants, say, I want 2 more forms on this screen, because I have some unique process in my organization, which may not be relevant to anybody else. Well, sure, it will take us 2 months of engineering time to build it, and 2 months का मेरा time का cost इतना है, आप उतना दे दो, and customer is very happy to do that, because that's a one-time cost for them. Software का part बन गया. Maintaining their form is not really expensive at all whatsoever. for my same license-based pricing, now he has 2 more pages on the screen, which they wanted. It's free development for me.
तो ठीक है, आपने बता दिया SaaS का क्या सोच के सॉफ्टवेयर बनाना है, फिर आपने थोड़ा प्राइसिंग का बहुत अच्छा आइडिया दिया. आई हैड नेवर हैड द क्लू, क्योंकि मेरे तो दिमाग में कॉस्ट बेस ही चलता था कि कॉस्टिंग इतनी है तो चल इतना लगा लेते हैं. बट यू सेड कि भाई टीम की कॉस्ट तो केपेक्स है, वो तो ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम कवर हो जाएगी. आपकी वेरिएबल मतलब जो AWS कॉस्ट है या जो है उसको आप मतलब 95% ग्रोस मार्जिन या 90% पे भी कर दो और ग्लोबल बेचो ज़्यादा. अब बताओ कि पहला कस्टमर कैसे लाए? What's the strategy on GTM, sales? How to do that?
See, the easiest way to... So there are 3-4 channels to acquire customers in SaaS. First is you do trade shows, expos, events, where you basically go to event of your industry. You set up a booth. You pay them minimal sponsorship amount. Anybody who passes by your booth will just stop by and at least check it out. Okay, kya hai. That's where you as a founder also get, or your sales team gets a chance to talk to customers. Right? And that's your real-time pitching happening in 5 minutes. And you get customers' reaction right there and then. Whether it's a yes or no. And most people would like, if they like it, they would be more inquisitive about it. Acha, then how do you do that? Oh, but then do you have that capability also? Oh, but then we are using this right now. How would you integrate with that? Or what's your price? So the conversation itself qualified a customer that okay, now whatever I'm solving is relevant, because otherwise this other questions would not be asked only.
या फिर आपको लर्निंग हो जाएगी, आप वो 4 चीज़ें कर लोगे.
या और या बोलेगा यार नहीं यार ये तो यार relevant नहीं है यार. Some feedback will be like अच्छा ठीक है sure, and somebody will not say no on your face but give you a very polite way of getting out of your booth. So I think that feedback loop is very, very fast, very easy. You don't need any preparation. You just need really need to put a booth. All customers are already coming there, so it's good. Second is you do outbound. So you buy a database of emails, right? Phone numbers. Get a couple of guys who are good at speaking English. Target one geography. If you want to sell to US, Dubai, Singapore, UK, just pick one country, pick one industry vertical. उसकी 100 कंपनी के हर एक कंपनी के 100 लोगों का डेटा ले लो.
किसका निकालूं? CEO का या?
It has to be depending on your ICP. So whoever your buyer might be. So in most of the SaaS, CEO is not the buyer. Your VP, let's say in our case, VP supply chain is the buyer, right? For HR software, VP HR or CHR will be the buyer. In a finance software, CFO will be the buyer and whatnot, right? So you get the data, but you don't only get CFO's data. You get CFO, VP, finance, director, finance, सबको कॉल कर लो. कोई तो कुछ तो आपको बोलेगा.
अच्छा, कॉलिंग करो, मेलिंग एंड कॉलिंग दोनों.
कॉलिंग करो, ईमेल करो, दोनों में your response rate will be very, very small. So a lot, like your rejection rate will be very, very high. Not even rejection, people will just not respond almost 90% of the times. But other than 10% people who respond, they are truly interested because without you ever talking to them, and for it's so easy for them to say no to you because they can either hang up a phone or not respond to your email, but yet they decided to talk to you. Yet they decided to respond to you. That's a very big validation point. That's channel number 2. Third is, I think LinkedIn works like a charm, right? So, like I know LinkedIn has a lot of noise these days. Like you have tens of thousands of followers, right? I'm sure your inbox is kind of filled, but you won't believe most of the startup leadership or company leadership, which is VPs, directors, CXOs, they don't have so many followers. So they actually go and check every single message they get, right? वो लोग करते हैं, वो reply भी करेंगे आपको. राइट अगर वो रिप्लाई नहीं करेंगे तो आपका कनेक्शन आपने एक्सेप्ट कर लिया, अभी आप कंटेंट डाल रहे हो तो उसकी फीड पे आ रहा है. तो आदमी तो 6 महीने बाद जब उसको कुछ आइडिया आएगा कि यार ये कुछ यूज़ करने लायक चीज़ है, तब वो आपको रीच आउट करेगा कि यार यू ईमेल्ड मी 6 months ago, वी आर इंटरेस्टेड, लेट्स टॉक.
बट लिंक्डइन एड्स नहीं, यू आर सेइंग लिंक्डइन ऑर्गेनिक
वन. सो नॉट टू डू में ये है, like do not run ads.
उस पे भी आएंगे.
So SaaS go to market में please don't run ads. Google ads don't work. LinkedIn ads तो absolutely doesn't work at all. I don't know why.
बहुत महंगे भी हैं.
मतलब absolute zero ROI. मतलब मैंने आज तक like I know pretty much every SaaS founder of India. आज तक मुझे एक नहीं मिला at any scale of their journey जिसने बोला कि यार LinkedIn ads से मेरा काम हो गया. मतलब एक भी लीड नहीं है.
Crazy.
तो वो पता नहीं, वो I think it's a broken algorithm, broken feature, whatever that might.
लोगों को नहीं पता. मेरे पास टीम आके बोली थी कि हम LinkedIn पे ऐड चला लेते, but now I know.
बिल्कुल हाँ, बिल्कुल. Please don't do it. And we would have like even on Google ads, we would have spent in 2015 we had tried similarly कि यार Google ads तो मतलब करना ही चाहिए. मतलब that's the very first thing कि ad लगाएंगे, लोग क्लिक करके आ जाएंगे. you get junk leads there, right? तो लोग क्लिक कर देंगे, तो क्लिक करके तो गूगल को पैसा मिल गया, लेकिन द पीपल आर नॉट क्वालिफाइड इनफ, they would have come for something totally random, right?
हाँ बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हो, हमारे पास डिलीवरी बॉय बनना है, उसके लिए आ जाते हैं.
उसके लिए वो क्लिक कर देंगे, राइट? सो दैट इज वन. और अभी तो मतलब सर्च इंजन इज इवन अ वेरी डिफरेंट बॉल गेम, बिकॉज गूगल पे आप देखोगे तो फर्स्ट रिजल्ट इज नॉट इवन एड, इट्स नाउ द चैट आंसर, द AI आंसर, जेमिनाई वाला आ जाता है अभी, राइट? सो नाउ तो एड इज इवन रैंकिंग इवन लोअर देन इट यूज्ड टू रैंक. तो आपका एड का कन्वर्जन रेशियो बहुत कम हो गया अभी. तो आई थिंक वो गूगल एड्स, बिंग एड्स, लिंक्डइन एड्स, फेसबुक, ट्विटर एड्स कुछ नहीं चलता है. Another thing is that don't do, just make sure that you don't start creating social media content on Instagram to sell SaaS, right? Like there's a very distant recall. Like people don't buy a Salesforce by looking at the ad on Instagram, right? Because people are on they are on Instagram when they're in their personal.
That's more B2C sale.
It's absolutely consumer. आप consumer कर रहे हो, product है, brand बनानी है, तो आप B2, तो Instagram could be a great platform. I'm not the expert there, but must be working, because I also sometimes I have done impulsive purchases on Instagram. I know myself, but B2B में वो बिल्कुल नहीं है. तो आई थिंक ये मोटा मोटा.
और चौथा एक मे बी सेल्स टीम भी हो शायद.
नहीं तो सेल्स टीम, so this is your marketing. These all will give the leads to sales. Then sales will have its own sales cycle of 2 months to 6 months, depending on how big of a ticket size you are selling. If you are selling $1,000 to $10,000 a year kind of ticket size, your sales cycle will be 2 months, 3 months. If you're selling 10K to 100K deal size, your sales cycle will be 3 months to 6 months. If you're selling 100K plus, it will be 6 months, 9 months, or even 12 months sales cycle. So you have to plan your funnel around it, because the longer the sales cycle, the first recall, the first time SaaS founders do is try to shorten the sales cycle. कि मैं जल्दी बेच दूँ, बट आप कुछ भी ऊपर से नीचे कूद जाओगे, वो जल्दी नहीं खरीदेगा कोई, because somebody is gonna pay you 100K and they know as a business, once they start, it's very difficult for them to pull out. Like look at how many times have you changed HRMS of your company?
हाँ बहुत मुश्किल है.
How many times have you changed the finance system of your company, right? Of any software that you want to see people start, you ticketing software ले लो, QA software.
It's a very deep call. It's a very evolved call. पूरा management बैठ के decision लेता है.
So it will be an evaluation process, plus it's expensive decision, right? It's like 100K a year, और आप 5 साल तो यूज करोगे, तो ये $500,000 का decision है at a medium deal size. If you're enterprise हो तो आप $500,000 का software ले रहे हो, $500,000 into 5 years, an enterprise will likely even stay on your platform for 10 years. Like we have customers, our oldest customer, we are a 10-year-old company. Our oldest customer is 9-year-old right now, right? Which we acquired in this oldest enterprise customer. They started with 20K ticket size with us annually. They pay us almost $2 million, right?
15 crore. They pay you annually.
Annually in software license.
कैसे आए थे वो customer?
So this is the story of McDonald's. We started with them in Malaysia, where we had done this online sign up. We had opened the online sign up for the world. So McD Malaysia का digital marketing manager, he signed up that we want to actually, we don't like working with aggregators. We want to build our own fleet of freelancers, right? तो हम लोग और मलेशिया में हमारा brand enough है, तो ड्राइवर मिल जाएंगे, बट वी नीड अ प्लेटफॉर्म विच कैन डू द असाइनमेंट टू ड्राइवर्स, ड्राइवर ऐप हो जाए, ड्राइवर को पेमेंट्स मिल जाए, ऑल ऑफ दैट. So that's something we started with them. And Malaysia, McD Malaysia was doing 100,000 orders a year at that time, right? Which was very small for, I think, very super small, I would say.
For overall McDonald's.
Even for Malaysia business, because right now they do 10 million orders a year in what, 8-9 years. Only Malaysia.
शुरू ही हुए होंगे तब.
हाँ, चालू ही किया था. Because we wanted people to download McD app and order burger from McD app and not go to Uber Eats. Because Uber Eats will charge them 30%. हमारा तो पूरा aggregator पे चला गया है. So India is a very different ball game. But outside India, aggregators are not as powerful as they are in India. So all brands, they hate paying 30% to them. They want to do all the hard work so that they don't have to keep paying 30%. Ultimately, McD का EBITDA ही 30% है.
सही बात है.
तुमने एग्रीगेटर तो दे दिया, मेरे स्टोर तो फिर भी चल रहे हैं, राइट? सो आई हैव नो कॉस्ट गोइंग डाउन, बट नाउ ऑल द ऑर्डर्स आर बीइंग फुलफिल्ड फ्रॉम द सेम किचन. 30% गया तो आई एम मेकिंग बेसिकली नो मनी. तो एनीवे, तो 20 से चालू किया उन लोगों ने. देन मैकडी मलेशिया स्केल्ड टू सम 60-70K. दे रेफर्ड अस टू सिंगापुर, देन वी वेंट टू ताइवान. देन आफ्टर सम साउथ ईस्ट एशिया का अच्छा हो गया तो मैकडी शिकागो रीच्ड आउट कि यार तुम लोग क्या कर रहे हो, मतलब हमारे 4-5 लोग तो कंट्रीज तो आ गए आपके साथ, तो वी वांट टू डू एन RFP विद यू. दे डिड द इवैल्यूएशन, they made us the preferred vendor globally. So then they would send an email to all the franchises across the world that this is something, the preferred vendor globally connected with us. We have this pricing negotiated already. जिसको लेना हो directly just pay them, they'll raise an invoice, start using tomorrow. So then the rapid scale happened. Now imagine if somebody would have done a bad job of selecting LogiNext, right? It would really be a big impact, right? But in that 20K sales cycle, at that time it lasted some 4-5 months, right? So at that time it felt very steep कि यार 15 लाख साल के बनाने के लिए 5 महीना जूते घिसवाने पड़ रहे हैं. But that is now benefiting at a very, very large level. And this is all no CAC, by the way. This customer, beyond is there's no CAC.
साइन अप मतलब तुम्हारे वेबसाइट पे आके किसी ने लीड डाली. और ये तुमने जो बोला बार बार कि मैंने ग्लोबल साइन अप खोल दिया, व्हाट इज दैट?
So basically in SaaS, you can most companies have a pricing per country. So that you see the online sign up, there's a free plan, standard plan, premium plan, wala classic SaaS sign up page, right? So that's something many of the SaaS or most SaaS companies don't open up for all countries together, right? They would first start for India or let's say US. Then they will see what the response is pricing correct or not. Then they will correct the pricing and then open for one more.
तो उसमें क्या मतलब your loginext.com?
तो we said कि हम लोग ये सब करते ही नहीं है, सीधा प्राइसिंग कर दो, स्लैश प्राइसिंग लगा के जिसको देखना है देखे. तो it would look like that, but this is something most evolved companies have reached there by correcting.
Select your country also.
But usually most SaaS companies today also when they start, they would start with like 1 country, 2 country, because they may not even have features for all the countries. For example, let's say at that time we had opened up, but we got some leads from US which we lost because one of the basic things they would ask is that do you have time zone support?
Oh.
Now you don't have it. अभी आपने ग्लोबल मार्केटिंग प्राइसिंग पेज खोल दिया, साइन अप भी आ गया, द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन कस्टमर ने पूछा प्राइस, वो तो कस्टमर समझ जाएगा कि आपने ऐसे ही मतलब चिपका दिया है, ये सॉफ्टवेयर यूजेबल है नहीं अभी के लिए. Then if you go to, let's say if you get a lead from Saudi Arabia, the basic thing they will ask is Arabic language support, right? So you have to be language agnostic, time zone agnostic. If you go to, we have some customers in China and Japan where they have their own local hosting providers that they typically prefer. So you can't be hosted on AWS if you have users in China. Right, so you need to also be multi-cloud. If you are in Europe, all the customers' data must be stored in a European instance.
Oh yeah, GDPR and all that. Yeah.
Now all the Indian SaaS companies, the first AWS they would procure would be either India, Singapore or Virginia. That's not GDPR compliant. तो अगर आपने वापस ग्लोबली खोल दिया, यूरोप की लीड आएगी, बेसिक क्वेश्चन है, आर यू GDPR सपोर्टेड? यू विल हैव टू से नो, वहीं पे अटक गए. So that's why I think so it was not a good move to we're just experimenting. Why I say global page is because we were not ready to just serve global customer base. Like it just sounds very it always feels that selling a software to the world is very easy because software तो software ही है, क्या ही हो जाएगा. But every country has some 10-20% nuances which you only get to learn once you talk to a lead, and they'll ask you 5 questions and you will not be able to answer 2 of them. You realize अच्छा ये भी question होता है. And in hindsight you will always feel कि यार तो basic question था, ये पता जैसे क्लिक क्यों नहीं हुआ हम लोग को.
Nice. No, I think मेरे हिसाब से आज के पॉडकास्ट में a lot of people would learn how to start a SaaS business, which I never thought of. But मैंने कहा यार ये तो unlock करना पड़ेगा. And so nice that you built a 10-year software business and now so many people can learn instantly कि यार ये 10 चीज़ें मैं करूँगा, एटलीस्ट आई एम गोइंग इन द राइट डायरेक्शन, राइट. कुछ और चीज़ें बताओ. अब आजकल इंडिया मार्केट इवॉल्व कर रहा है. यूएस में डोनाल्ड ट्रम्प इज देयर इज अ ह्यूज AI वेव हैपनिंग. सो हाउ आर यू सीइंग दिस इंडिया US AI shaping up the next few years? Matlab, what should entrepreneurs focus on? What should they not? What's your thesis?
I think generally I feel India definitely is a absolutely great timing for India right now. But I will not bore people with the same story where hey, this is the time for India. India hi hai. I'll give a slightly different view also. If you go to US, a general American is not talking so much about India. Sitting in India, obviously, which is for the right reasons. In India, we hear from our media for the right reasons. I still feel good about it. That India is scaling, growing, gonna be the next big thing. But except for Indians, others are not talking about it. So I feel we will truly start to get closer to that becoming the superpower when other communities, other big communities start to talk about India. That's not happened yet. US media does not talk about it.
Even in Singapore, I don't see so much India talk. I travel a lot. Neither in the US. I attended one of the largest logistics conference last year, Manifest. Yeah, I was there. So
It's again in Jan or February, obviously.
February usually they do it, but नहीं पता था लोगों को इंडिया में क्यों करना है. They're मतलब $1 billion फंड्स बैठे हैं, उनको पता ही नहीं इंडिया में पहला चेक भी नहीं डाला आज तक.
Correct. So that is there. Second, I feel that is one. Second thing is I think India also needs to really solve for the talent piece of it, right? I think we are over celebrating our talent right now because the average salary is growing. So people are thinking that everybody's doing the right thing. I think there's still a lot of hard work left. Like for example, Narayan Murthy got bashed for this 70-hour comment, right? Now all the founders I've spoken to, and I don't know, probably I'll also get bashed.
What's your view?
So my view is with him. I'm with him on that because what he was trying to say is that the country needs to work hard. He was not saying that everybody has to slog every single day in a toxic environment. That's not what he meant. Obviously, if it's a wrong environment, it's something you don't want to do, don't do it, right? But most people think that, no, if I am getting a salary, I must only work for 40 hours, right? Like we are growing as a nation. This is not what US does. Look at Europe now. They have this good progressive policy of, after 6 p.m. you can't send an email. True. And like because they worked hard and took a lot of risk for centuries, right? Probably they also maybe colonized countries, sure, great, But we have to do things in the right direction, in the right way, and that just takes a lot of work as a country, as a community, as a society, right? From every element. I think if our general youth is not okay with it, that will be detrimental in long run, right? Even China, right? People say that where China was 25 years ago, India is today. But I remember I had visited China 10 years ago in Shenzhen. General factory. I had gone to just to see of the factory of that set-top box, TV का जो set-top box होता है, उसकी factory थी. जिसमें सिर्फ वो उसका PCB बन रहा था और उसका डब्बा बन रहा था. यार वहाँ पे the scale and the discipline I saw with the labor workforce was mind-boggling. वो conveyor belt पे PCBs जा रहे हैं, हर बंदा, also manual, वो कुछ तो एक component solder कर रहा है उसके ऊपर, फिर वो belt आगे बढ़ता है, फिर दूसरा PCB आता है, वो सेम दूसरा कंपोनेंट वापस सोल्डर करता है.
But just tuck.
Machine. Now yes, there are views. Some people have that, this is very labor exploitation. But if you go to China, people are not feeling exploited generally. People are feeling great because they came from nothing. True. And they really became a big threat to pretty much all large economies now. Why? In a good way, because they are the bloody producing everything, and they worked hard. So anyway, so I think that's another risk I see for India, where I think we are celebrating too early. One more angle to that talent piece is that while people think that India-US salary gap is reducing, I strongly disagree on that. I think even US salaries have been increasing with the same rate, right? For example, like an entry-level engineer used to be paid in US 100K 10 years ago. And in India, they were being paid 5-6 lakh rupees 10 years ago. Now an entry-level guy gets paid, smart guy gets paid 15 lakh rupees, 20 lakh rupees. तो डबल ट्रिपल हो गया. वहाँ पे भी 150-180 के हो गया है, राइट? सो ऐसा नहीं है कि मतलब यहाँ का 20 लाख हो गया, वहाँ पे 100 के पे ही लोग पड़े हुए हैं. GDP per capita, as we talk about, right? We grew from $2,500 to some $3,200 or whatever, right? US went from 65K to 85K.
Yeah. So, look at the volumes.
Look at the volume, right? So it is. So I think we need to kind of also correct that. Other countries are also growing, so we just don't have to grow, we have to outgrow them. Our pace has to be significantly faster, right? Like the country has to think, the youth has to think, if today's growth rate is 6%, 7%, what can we do to make it 10%? And unfortunately, a big part of that is going to be hard work. There's no magic answer which will make it a country level GDP growth.
सही बात है. यहाँ वो रीलों में देख के लगता है कि यार वो वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस एंड ऑल दैट, बट मेहनत के बिना तो कोई आगे नहीं बढ़ पाया लाइफ में. या IPO का प्लान है. What's your view on fundraising, IPO, exit path?
Maybe, I don't know, little longer answers. I think founders also evolve in their journey, where when you start a company, your focus is to do innovation, creation, impact. Then it slowly changes to monetization, profitability, right? Then it changes to wealth creation. and then it also goes to wealth creation for your people. So I think I'm kind of in that wealth creation phase right now, where I feel that my day job is largely about repeating the success. So if I can keep up the growth path without diluting people's equity and my equity as well, then I would rather choose that path. And can I offer liquidity to this stock without diluting them? Now coming to fundraising definitely, of course, dilutes everybody's outcome at the end of the day, including my own outcome as well. So I feel that I want to maximize my and my employees' liquid outcome as quickly as I can. So all my decisions generally at a strategic level, not at an operating level, but at a strategic level, I feel that how can I get there quickly? And I don't see private fundraising as a path, because we've raised a bunch of money and we could just never use most of it because we are inherently profitable. Now we could just never, we never did more than 10% EBITDA loss in the history of company in any year. And we've tried variety of bunch of things, right? Like
सब ट्राई कर लिया,
सब तो ट्राई किया है, लेकिन कोई B2B में उतना कुछ मार्केटिंग का जो साइड एंगल नहीं है. मार्केटिंग का फिर भी काफी ऑर्गेनिक है. इवन द चैनल्स आर नॉट दैट एक्सपेंसिव. एंड देन बियॉन्ड द पॉइंट यू हैव दिस रेफरल आल्सो, वर्ड ऑफ माउथ, ब्रांड बन जाती है, तो उसका एक थोड़ा वैल्यू एक्स्ट्रा मिलता है. So having said that, I don't see any value for fundraising. So most likely we will not be fundraising actively. IPO में options है. We are not an India company. We are a US company. Now on NASDAQ, to be a decently noticeable company, you have to have 150 million revenue at least. Below that, you are small cap.
Okay.
And US small cap, unlike India small cap, is less exciting. India में small cap का excitement बहुत ज़्यादा है, right? SME IPO बहुत चल रहा है, तो वो पूरा उल्टा sentiment है. वहाँ पे आप SME IPO तो मतलब कोई आपका ट्रेडिंग वॉल्यूम बहुत कम है. So there is no way to create leverage and create exciting story to increase your PE. अगर आप इतने ग्रोथ से रेट कर आपका 30 PE निकलेगा. अगर आप 30% से रेट ग्रो कर रहे हो तो आपका स्टॉक भी उतना ही ग्रो करेगा. बस उसमें कुछ ज़्यादा लीवर्स नहीं है आपके पास. So and then there comes options like Dubai Exchange, Australia Exchange. Now and there's another beauty about the US ecosystem, right? I was at some investor conference. And a lot of bankers come and pitch to you. And the sheer number of mid-size investment bankers are so high. And they come and propose to you all this variety of ideas. Why don't you list on Australia Stock Exchange? I'm like, Australia Stock Exchange तो पता भी नहीं है भाई, मतलब ASE क्या होता है? ASE तो कभी, I have no idea, never been to Australia. Maybe 2% revenue coming from Australia. कोई तो मेरी टीम में कोई कर रहा है, great. कोई angle ही नहीं है. But I know, Dhruv, you know what? The largest tech company on ASE is a supply chain software company. So any supply chain software always gets too much excitement in ASE. I'm like, यार ये पता नहीं था. तो फिर मैंने देखा तो वाइस टेक करके कंपनी है, does some 150-200 million revenue, is the largest tech IPO of Australia. तो आप अगर सप्लाई, इट्स लाइक अगर नाइका ने कर लिया तो सब लोग आ गए ये वाले, राइट? अगर जोमेटो ने कर दिया तो स्विगी का भी एक्साइटमेंट है. तो वहाँ पे ऐसा है कि सप्लाई चेन सॉफ्टवेयर का एक्साइटमेंट है. तो आई थिंक दैट्स व्हाट आई एम थिंकिंग ऑफ कि ऐसा कुछ एंगल मिले. आई डोंट सी एनी इंडिया लिस्टिंग ऑप्शन फॉर नेक्स्ट 3 to 5 years बिकॉज I think in India, retail investors may not understand what we do as much, and we don't have any exciting story creation for them. And I think that probably can be a pretty risky move for us. So that's just very high level thoughts, but we are still...
No, that's quite a lot in terms of thinking, but you are in the path towards listing for sure.
I think the plan is to do it. If I could do it in the next 5 years, I'll be very happy.
Anything on networking? Because I see you having a great network of friends, founders, investors. What should the young people do to build their network?
Great question. So I used to be an introvert, back in the days, like a research analyst kind of a persona, right? Very geeky. Yeah, exactly.
That too AI.
So very, very that kind of a person. And then Deloitte changed me that. So I used to, like Deloitte had this thing where every Friday, pretty much every employee of the whole company has to do something called as firm activity. A firm activity is where you network with the partners of the company and you offer them, how can I help you sell more?
Nice.
And it's such a painful process because every Friday forcefully किसी random partner को company में email करो कि अरे how can I help you sir, ये वो वगैरह वगैरह. And then people would have found some innovative ideas. तो कोई क्या करता था कि घर पे 10 पार्टनर को बुला देगा. And they know कि यार इन लोग को whiskey और cigar पसंद है, तो they'll create a small lounge at home. They'll get 10 partners. and then they will just talk to them, right? So which is some form of networking to get into that wave. Long story short, Deloitte had a lot of such variety of firm activities and programs internally to push people to be good at selling, to start selling themselves, right? And I think that was a very painful process I went through for 3 years, where the only option to grow up the ladder was not only that how much value you create in the company, it was also that how much value you create and how much of a network you build in the company and how much you can sell yourself. And then I think in that process, I kind of started becoming more of a sales guy as well. Then obviously took the job as the CEO, where eventually, you go away from engineering to more into sales and marketing. So started kind of admiring networking more. One advice I have for people who want to do it is that, I think being able to network and build, more, friends in the ecosystem is to actively be present in a lot of forums, right? So one of the things that I do is I'm a part of this offline club. I'm a part of TEAM, which is a tech association of Mumbai. I'm a part of SAS Boomi, which is a SaaS association in India, SaaS community. I'm a part of US ISPF, it's US India Strategic Partnership Forum. Nice. This is another community for Indians living in US, Indian founders living in US. I'm a part of EO, entrepreneurs. I'm trying to get into IPO also. It's a lot of time consumption, but that kind of allows me to be in front of so many such, founders like yourselves, which, and I've always seen that every single time I'm with, let's say, 5 people over dinner or over lunch, over drinks, or wherever, if I'm just bumping into them, there's always one more learning or one more idea that clicks with somebody. क्या साथ में ये कुछ करते हैं या कुछ नया छोटा ऐसा कुछ idea आएगा, brainstorm आए कुछ होगा. And I think that moment that you create with somebody where you align on an idea, you may not even pursue it. I think that kind of builds enough traction to pick it up from, again next time. Like for example, how did we met once at the dinner, right? And we just kind of, I don't know what none of us remember what we spoke about, right? But we stayed in touch because we knew that we think alike in some area, right? And then of course we have this common industry in logistics angle, last mile angle in the business. I don't know if it's a good framework or not. I don't have a great framework, but from a framework perspective, I feel another thing that what I've always done and I've heard, great people, successful people following, is that always offer help, right? So if you proactively reach out to people and offer help, that always kind of, that makes it sometimes easier for other people to seek your help. It makes it easier for other people to offer their help to you when you need it. So the ice gets broken there. But I think that in today's world, there are enough communities available online or offline, which allows you to kind of talk to. And now there are so many WhatsApp groups of founders. Now I do a lot of angel investments, right? So on the angel list is a great platform, right? So easiest hack, by the way, for people who want to do small size angel checks, even if you have no network whatsoever, go to angel list. There's a tab called syndicates, right? And just go and apply it to all. Out of some 1,000 syndicates, some 10 of them will accept you. And they will start sending you deals. Nice. Of all the deals they're doing. And you will end up having at least 2-3 deals in your inbox every day. Where minimum check size could be $1,000. Correct. Right? Yeah. You participate in a few. It somehow gets noticed. You will start getting acceptance proactively from other syndicates. Then you get even more deals. Nice. And you just become and then I met somebody called Alex Pattis in New York. I bumped into him in an event. He reached out. He said, "Dhruv, Alex, do you know? Do you recall?" I'm like, "Really, I don't recall." He said that you have invested 5 times in my syndicate so far, and he runs a syndicate network on Angel List, where he full time does such syndication of other deals, and brings people like me, who wouldn't really even have met anybody in New York. Correct. Now I know Alex as somebody who does syndicates very well. And so on and so forth. Nice.
So what do you look for in the startup founders? The last question, because I know we're running out of time. Yeah. What do you look for in a young startup founder to invest in them?
See, everybody talks about this, that it's all about the founder has to be great and high on integrity and stuff like that. I think beyond that, I feel how much the founder truly understands the customer problem. Right? I think very few founders really take that effort to spend a lot of time with customers to truly feel it. Customer empathy is a very overly used and abused word now. So I like the founders who have really spent a good amount of time. And that's why on my calls, I just ask them a lot of questions about why is this a problem? Tell me more about it. And then I ask more inquisitive questions, sometimes stupid questions. But I see that smart founders, they would give me very insightful answers about customers' problem. And there are many founders who would actually, beyond a point, not be able to, or will get frustrated by the questions I ask on customers, right? And that just basically reflects that, you know, they want to talk about market size or fundraising and their lead investor and how much help I can give them and operating level issues and some features they have built. But I don't want to talk about any of that. I want to talk about, like, have you like truly spent time with customers?
Beautiful insight for a lot of people who are listening. Go deep in your customer. That's where the real insight lies. Lovely, man. So good to have you. It's a short chat.
Thank you.
But I could have done a lot more, but today being a busy day for both, we'll do another one.
But what do you think? How was it?
It was amazing because we've never done a SaaS kind of a, show, but this is so much about it, man. And then creating a company here, building it in the US, raising funds, pricing it right. Amazing.
Great.
So
good. But I must say, you are such a engaging person.